On today's episode, we discuss media criticism, touch on bad movies, and contemplate the philosophical merits of stealth versus Deep Blue Sea.
I didn't know you were going to go there, but that's awesome.
Gonna get it.
Yes. Welcome to Halftone Takes, high contrast conversations where we zoom out to see the bigger picture. I am one half of the host, Cory Adam, aka Icon Lover 42069, and this is my co-host.
I'm the other co-host, Adam Bucheri, aka Weed Lord Vegeta.
Yes.
Who we
Very
all
good.
knew on AOL Instant Messenger.
Oh, geez. AOL Instant Messenger. Jeez, man. The chat rooms.
The first
if
chat.
If you guys are old enough, the very first chat Genesis. But if you haven't figured it out by our...
Why would you figure it out?
You have no idea how crazy people are.
If you can tell me what the
online.
topic of this episode is right now, it's because you've looked at the episode of the podcast and you have a pretty good educated guess.
Or you heard like the preamble that we usually do before each podcast.
Yeah.
So.
What I'm trying to say is that we've really sabotaged any opportunity for like surprise or like, well done, listener. You've solved my riddle.
Hey. I didn't say that. You did.
I know. That's why I just congratulated them.
I acted like our audience already knew. It's like, if you haven't figured it out already, this is where we're going. So, yes, we are going there. We are going to the fandom zone. And talking about a little bit of hype in between there. Because recently, and we are not this type of a show. We are not this type of a podcast where we just pick the latest thing that just happened and everything like that,
takes.
and then just talk. Yeah, we're not like that. We do takes. We do hot takes. Mostly Adam does hot takes because Adam has the tastiest of hot takes. But there's one particular one that we've talked about off mic and just on regular conversations on the phone and stuff. And he called it, and I want to talk about it because I was like, you know what? Adam's going to love going off about this. And I want to talk about this little game that, for all of you who know, Adam is a huge horror fan. He's huge horror fan. He loves horror video games. He quite literally jacks off to Resident Evil 4 and Resident Evil 7 all the time.
Look, guys, I gotta tell you, an unconscionable number of loads involve Jack Baker. That's fucking untrue, and I hate the sentence I said, and I hate that you made me say it. You did this to me.
Yes. Oh, you would have done it to yourself eventually.
No, I can guarantee I never would have said that sentence in my fucking life.
And that's why we exist. That's why we exist.
Anyway, I need to pivot so bad.
Anyway, there's a little game that came out that everybody seemingly is upset about called the Callisto Protocol. Excuse me.
Sure.
And Adam kind of called this a while ago. He's like, nah, it doesn't look that good. I'm like, come on, man. It's made by the same people that like Dead Space. And and then I was like, oh yeah, you don't like Dead Space.
It's not that
if I'm saying this, if I'm thinking this right, Adam thinks that Dead Space is lazy. So that's what I keep hearing every time he talks about Dead Space. He's like, I just think it's lazy. I don't think it's, I don't think you've ever said that, but I get the idea that you're saying that because of how you talk about the game, where it's like, this game is supposed to scare me, and yet it only does this, this, and this, which only scares you once, and then it becomes formulaic, And I'm like, oh, okay, I understand that. At least I think that's what you're saying.
I agree with the thrust of your reinterpretation of my words. I wouldn't use the term lazy. I think that it's a very high effort, possibly maximum effort. I just think that it has very different values than what I do. And I think that what like they think is scary, I don't think is scary. And I would love to get into the weeds about it, but this is you setting up the larger picture of the premise. So let me know when I can get into the weeds, because I can get in the weeds.
We might get into the weeds a little later, but right now we're having an overall talk about this kind of stuff. Because I want to get to the good and bad about fandoms, hype in general, and being fan people of things. All kinds of things. I'm not just talking about video games. I just laughed at
the gender inclusive term fan people.
I did that on purpose. You
Rather
like that?
than
you like
fans.
That shit?
Fans works.
Yes. No, it doesn't. I need
Fan
to be
identifying Americans, listen up.
For all you Australians, screw all of you. We don't want you here.
Fuck off, Aussies.
Stay on the bottom of the earth, why don't you? Nobody likes you down there.
Stupid. Australia's stupid, but cool. It's funny. At least, you know.
Yes. If people think that we're talking serious about being down there, you've got another thing coming. Because I love Australia.
We're down with the down under. We just saw an easy target.
Yes, I love Echidnas. Knuckles is my favorite character. And so
That's right. Like how someone is just like, no, you're from America, and like I know that you guys are huge pieces of shit, but I gotta tell you, turkeys are pretty okay. And then I'm like, you are cool. Like we are vibing. Like we're connecting.
No,
this is a human experience for
bears. I think it would be like bears.
God,
like, we
I love
bears over here. Yeah. Bears are cool, man. Bears are cool.
Bears are cool until you encounter one in the middle of the road at night in winter, which happened to us a couple of years ago.
Montana. You live in Montana. We don't get bears up here.
There are bears about. You don't get snow days, but sometimes a bear breaks into the school, and so that's how you can get your day off.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I always thought that you guys went to school anyway. It's like, there's a bear here. Just don't look it in the eye. Just focus on your tests. Focus on your tests. Anyway. So, okay, 3 topics. 3 bullet points, I should say. 3 bullet points, as we usually do. First of all, is what the hell is a fandom in the first place?
Right. So this is us trying to define, like, a fairly nebulous concept that, like, everyone has a gut understanding of, but, like...
Yeah, it straight up is. I'm glad you used that word, because it straight up is that. And yet people... Never mind, we're going to get into that later. Then the second part is, what's the difference between a fan and fanboying? Or fangirling, or fan-peopling, you know.
Fan humans.
Fan fans. Fan fans. And how can we be better fans without taking our excitement into the fandom zone? And I call the fandom zone as this obnoxious, everybody's been there. Everybody's been there, and everybody knows places like that are just horrible, obnoxious. It makes you not want to like what you like anymore, because if other fans can make you hate what you like, we've got a problem, in my opinion. So
agreed. And I also do want to say that I really like the idea of the Phantom Zone, which is where Superman sends you if you're too dangerous to stay on Earth.
Yes. Yeah. That's why I made it up. I like that, the Phantom Zone. Don't be in the fandom zone. We're going to talk about that later, but a general rule is don't go there. Don't go to the fandom zone, because it's really hard to get out as per, like, you know, it's an ultra dimension where it's like we send prisoners to die. Prisoners of prisoners of fandom to die. We all know those people.
Don't worry, it's the moral option.
Yeah. Yeah. Or something. But anyway, let's go back to the first thing. Because obviously I'm asking Adam this because Adam is very articulate in his hate. He has to set up the haterade stand. And
I'm not that
it might
salty,
not be
I promise.
Yet.
Let's see how salty we can get.
Yeah. Well, it's gonna be a flip flop. Because that's why I structured these. There's
part of this conversation that's worth getting tilted over. I'll agree.
Oh yeah. But if we're going towards tilt, we're gonna go towards Adam. If we're going towards like me and him are the same side of the same person. It's he is the hate and I am the love, and together we create
Captain
takes.
Apathy.
Yeah. Something.
I feel neutrally about this situation.
I don't feel one way or the other. Let's talk about it.
The neutral beings from Futurama.
Yeah. Actually, I was thinking about the first thing that you reference you mentioned, which is Captain Planet, which I miss.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But anyway, yeah. Let's think about this for a second. What would you describe as a fandom?
Right.
Not a fan, just a fandom.
Right. A fandom is let's call it a loose organization. Like it is. I think that like the difference between like I am a fan as an individual and being part of a fandom is community. It's about finding a group of like-minded people who all rally around the same kind of things. And therefore you need a space that facilitates that kind of thing. So online spaces obviously are how modern fandoms congregate. Mm-hmm. It's funny to think of old fandoms, pre-internet days, where it's just like, hey, we've got a Star Wars club. It's an organization, and you can put it in your calendar that you could come and visit us and talk about how cool Boba Fett is. But like that's how cons were. Was.
That's not like cons are now, but back in the day, cons weren't as big, but you got the super fans that went because one, you had to pay money half the time, and nobody wanted to even deal with that. I mean, they maybe even liked stuff, but you had to pay money to get into this thing where it was for super fans. And, it was either a big deal or it was a big deal for one reason or another or something like that. It was it's crazy. Now that's like just mainstream now. But back in the day, it's like, oh man.
For sure.
You must really like Star Wars.
And like conventions, are kind of the logical extreme of that kind of thing, especially in like pre-internet days. And obviously it carries on to today. But like, I think you can pretty clearly like see a distinction between like, I'm a horror movie fan and there's a horror film festival that's going on, and I'm going to go down and I'm going to watch a bunch of weird independent horror movies and it'll be a good time. Versus, I am a fan of Friday the 13th and I love Friday the 13th, and I buy a bunch of merch, and then there's going to be an event and the person who played the original Jason Voorhees' mom is going to be there, and I'm going to go and I'm going to get something autographed, There's a specificity to it. Mm-hmm. And like the sense of community, like going out and seeking and finding like-minded people who share your kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Which is always good. Well, you know what? I shouldn't
always
say
super not
that.
Always good.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was like, it's not always good, but it is an access point. Let's just say that. Yeah. It's good to have access. It's not always good to engage.
So the second part of that definition is like the fandom is surrounding, the object of your affection, usually a piece of entertainment in some way. However, the fandom itself is also a separate and distinct entity in this equation, where it's not just that I love Friday the 13th, but I love the other people who love Friday the 13th. And I am now building relationships with these individuals. And this community now exists in conversation with Friday the 13th as a media franchise, but also separately as its own thing. And I'm also loyal to that. And that's part of the equation of like when fandoms go bad, because like now we've got an established community, we're all comfortable, we like talking to each other, we have strong opinions, and now the new Friday the 13th came out. I don't know why I picked Friday the 13th as my example here, it's arbitrary.
I mean, yeah.
The new Friday the 13th came out, and this one sucks. And because we've got a group of like-minded people who all care about the same things, who are already vocal and connected, now we're a pressure cooker, and now things can get complicated in a weird way.
Yeah.
So
everything can get real weird real quick.
Yeah.
Because I automatically thought, oh, because I've been this person. I've been here. Well, we've all been here. But because you could talk about some of the times you've been there too. But and I think I already know one of the examples you might give. But I've been there where it's like, oh man, I love this. Everybody who, you know, likes this kind of stuff, like that I'm part of the fandom, everybody must love this, right? Nah, bro. No. Everybody's like, you like this? You call yourself a fan?
Yeah,
man, get your ass out of here.
It real quickly can turn into gatekeeping or you know, arbitrary groupthink, or I don't know. There's a lot of unsavory aspects to fandoms, like as organizations, almost. You know, it's a loose organization, but like in that sense,
like many organizations, in my opinion, like they become, the bigger they become, the more faulty they like seem to be. I mean, not like everybody has flaws and stuff like that, but it seems like they're more pronounced. The mistakes and the, you know, the bad things about it are, the more pronounced they become. And it's almost like, oh man, you can see this from far away. How do they not realize it? But depending on what you like, depending on what who, like, what the community is, what you're a part of, you may not even realize it until, like, it's too late, to where you become the person that you thought you would never be or something like that. But I mean, like I said, it's complicated.
Like, I'm not here to provide, like, a cautionary tale. You know, I'm not here to warn people about it, but, like...
There's no way to warn it. You're, like, everybody's in one. Like, if you like stuff... You're in it. Like,
see, this is kind of the root of our disagreement, is that like I consider myself a fan of a lot of things, lowercase f. Let's draw that distinction between like a lowercase f fan of just like I'm a person who likes stuff versus a capital F fan, which is someone who engages with the fandom, engages with discourse, like is in this shit.
Or maybe defines themselves as... Often that's how they define themselves. Yeah.
Often identity issues can get wrapped up into it, where it's just like, it's not just something that I like, this is part of who I am. And this also kind of relates to my general philosophy, where it's like, I think that people largely are good, but organizations largely are bad. Like, once you start applying structure to stuff, then you start getting power dynamics, then you start getting, like, it attracts weird people, and then, like, that's where, like, a lot of the stuff starts happening. So, to finish that thought, I'm a lowercase f fan of a lot of things. I love horror. We've already talked about Resident Evil and Bloodborne. I am not in the fandoms of any of those things. Insofar that, like, they occasionally cross over into my sphere and I'll see something where it's like, oh, it's a cool piece of fan art, or here's some theory crafting speculation on something that's coming up. I mean, I don't even really engage with any of that kind of stuff. Like that stuff is largely okay. Or like, like the Bloodborne PlayStation demake, like super cool project. Loved following it. Loved seeing that. But I'm not emotionally invested in any of these things. Not to the degree that like I think a capital F fan gets invested. Let's just to talk about Resident Evil, because we talked about that already. I would describe myself as a fair weather fan, which is to say I like the games that I like, and I don't like the games that I don't like, which seems like the most obvious statement in the world, but a lot of fandoms, it's an all or nothing bargain, where everything that's wrapped up in it comes with it, and you are a fan of everything or you're not a fan of everything, according to the gatekeepers, which, again, I don't respect.
Yeah.
It's, I think that Resident Evil Village is like, this is kind of middle of the road. It didn't do the things that I wanted it to do. That's fine, and like that's as far as my emotional investment goes in. Like, I wasn't crushed. It didn't destroy me. It didn't, blah, blah, blah. People talking about the Resident Evil 3 remake, and they're like, they cut out the clock tower. And I'm so angry. This game is way too short. It should be at least 20 minutes longer.
Yeah.
And it's just
hours.
like, I don't understand you weirdos who are like so wrapped up in the exact specifics. You're wrapped up in the set dressing and the aesthetic. Like, you want to make sure that they're wearing the hat because the hat is what's important. They need to say the line, Bart. I don't get that feeling. Like, it's just not part of me. And maybe that's just how I'm built. But no, I can categorically say that's not how I'm built, because like this is something, the position that I'm taking is one that has come from experience, because I used to be involved in fandoms, and I used to be much more passionate about this stuff, and I used to care, and now I'm just like, no, it's fine. It exists as its own thing,
and now I don't.
That sounds bleak when you put it like that. I used to.
Well, you started it.
I know.
That's a half-toed take for you guys.
But you understand the sentiment of like the degree, like the way that people wrap themselves up, wrap their identity up in it, wrap their, sometimes their emotional well-being up into not just the product itself, not just the movie or show or game or book or what have you, but also about other community members and discourse that's happening in the larger public sphere. If a author of a book gets called out for having something shitty in it, now they have to leap to the defense. Look, I could be talking about a half dozen people right now.
Yeah.
I'm not calling out anyone specifically, but people will leap to the defense of a person. And is that healthy? Is that wise? Is that like, do you need to tie yourself to not just the book that you're a fan of, but the author and everything the author says and everything the author believes, and that all needs to get wrapped up into your identity too? And then now you also need to like gatekeep and police other people who say they like the same thing, whether or not they're as wrapped up in all of this tangential stuff. Like, it's just, I'm not quite trying to make a slippery slope argument, but I feel like there's a lot of comorbidity with I'll call them toxic attitudes.
Yeah. Well, it's what and what I've just heard, people who are listening with that whole big thing that Adam just said. What I heard, and this is what I personally was hearing, is it's almost deceptively simple how we should act towards the stuff that we like. It's almost deceptively simple of, don't take it too far. Don't take it there.
Don't take it too seriously.
Yeah. I mean, you could, well, even then, you could take things seriously because that is another, that's like getting into a little bit of what I want to talk about in terms of hype.
Mm-hmm.
Because I probably feel a little bit differently than you do about hype.
Correct.
But I think that with the, like, it's the age-old thing of everything in moderation. If you like, and I've felt this before because I agree with you, you know, for the most part, entirely of what you said. Of it's you shouldn't wrap yourself into all of these things, especially all like these politics and everything that tends to get so intertwined with something that you're enjoying. Or something that you're not enjoying. People can do the opposite too. They get so mad about so much stuff. And like, for example, with the new Avatar movie that's coming out, Avatar: The Way of Water, which everybody is so not the other one. Although that's a thing.
Yeah, I was like, the live action Avatar show. I haven't heard any.
No, I haven't either.
Meaningful buzz. There's some casting news, and that's like all I've heard.
Yeah, they're still working on it, I guess. Hopefully Netflix doesn't like can it before it's out, but we'll see. But anyway, like The Way of Water, I've heard so many people out of nowhere. Me and my wife, we went to go see Black Panther 2. Like, enjoyed the hell out of it. But they showed a big, trailer, obviously, for that movie,
sure,
The Way of Water, before that. And I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe how many people were groaning out loud in the theater behind us. They were like, they're making another one of these? I can't believe it. Why would they do this? Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
Hey, audience member attending the theatrical showing of Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. This is the first time you've heard of this? This is news to you?
Yeah, and I turned around and I just went, are you serious? Like, I was like, and my first thought is, I'm like, you don't have to see this, right? Like,
yo,
you don't have to see it. You could just ignore it and, just not engage with the content. Like, James Cameron is making another movie and, it has cool technology in it and stuff, but you don't have to see this. Like, you can go about your business and just walk away.
I need to emphasize just how correct you are right now. I want a megaphone and I want to broadcast this from the top of the tallest skyscraper. Hey everyone. Not everything has to be made for you, and that's okay. You're not going to watch everything anyways. All of us are going to die without watching every movie that we want to watch, without playing every game we want to play, without reading every book we want to read. There's an infinite amount of content. We're never going to get around to it. The problem is not anything existing. Everything can exist. There's no real problem with something existing.
Yep.
You have to. You already right now have to pick and choose everything that you're going to experience, and there's more that will ever be able to be consumed by any human in their lifetime. And so, it's just not worth getting upset about something that you don't care.
Why don't you pick what you like, what you know you are going to enjoy?
Yeah.
Yes, you can take some chances. Everybody, like, I do agree with this. Everybody should take some chances every once in a while. It's like, you know what? That looks pretty cool. I'll see what it's about, type thing. You might find something more that you like, but I've always been the outsider with this, especially when we were like in school and we had our friend group and everything. And I know this is going to come up again and again. However, I was one of a few black people in our friend group
who owned Stealth on DVD.
I still own Stealth on DVD. I never gave it away. See, but let's talk about that.
No. Finish your thought. I don't let my stupid bit derail it.
But there were so many times stuff came up like that where it's just like, this is not really my thing. But instead of me saying it because I was a candy ass, and I would be like, I wasn't brave enough. I wasn't completely out of my shell yet. I wasn't brave enough to say, I don't know if I like this at all. Because a lot of let's admit, a lot of our friend groups love to hate watch stuff.
Yes,
and
correct.
I did not like hate watching things because I was like, why would I want to watch something that I know I'm not going to like? Like, why couldn't I just watch something else that is cool or something? But everybody was like, no, you have to watch this. It sucks, man. And I'm like, I don't want to do that. But
I think bad movies could be like a whole complete episode in itself, because I think bad movies are really fascinating.
Yeah, but bad movie. I'm not talking about bad. Yeah, I'm not talking about bad movies. I'm talking about generally hating what you saw. Like, people would go to a movie theater or something and they see a movie that they looked forward to, which goes with the hype. They hyped it up like crazy, and then they ended up getting let down, and then they bash it forever, and that's all they can talk about, and they get everybody else to talk about it, so they all go watch it again and say, look how bad this is. Look at this. Why did they make this? Why did they do this? And I'm like, I feel this is beyond criticism. This is more just, setting up a haterade stand of, this is what I'm selling to you. If you don't like it, then you must not like media. You must not like this art. You are not part of the fandom. You don't know good. And I'm like, oh, here we go. Here we go.
So this kind of correlates with like the idea of what you're getting out of the experience. And I think that generally, like, if you go into something with the intention of not liking it, like, you're probably going to succeed, first of all. Like, whatever your expectations in going in, like, the media obviously matters, but like the attitude that you bring to it also matters. The expectation that you bring to it, what you want to get out of it, matters in that regard. But also, like, there are ways to do it, quote unquote, responsibly. So, for example, I like to talk about how, and I think like you might have been like slyly referring to this in college. Twilight was still kind of big, and I
wasn't even referring to this at all. I didn't even think about this, but now I think about it.
But in college, like we did like I don't know if you were involved in it. I think it might have been.
I was involved in some of this. Yeah. I was involved in some of this.
I don't remember if they happened in private dorms or if they were part of Brad's bad movie club.
No, it wasn't part of that. It was in private dorms. Okay. I remember this because I was bullied into watching some of this stuff. I remember this.
But like I watched, I want to say 2 or 3 of them. I think just 2. And watching it, I came out of it and I'm just like, not for me, not my audience. I can't imagine getting so invested in these characters and these relationships that I wear a t-shirt pledging allegiance to one of these 2 dipshits.
Team Edward or Team, what is it, Colin?
Jacob.
Yeah. See, I forgot.
Yeah.
It's been so long.
Yeah, I can't imagine like getting that invested. But also that's because like specific to my like your love taste. Triangles just don't appeal to me flatly.
Oh, we've had multiple conversations about this.
Yeah.
But
more than that,
I'm not a big fan of it either. So I'm not a big fan of that kind of stuff either. So
but more than that, like I came out of the movie theater and I'm like, not completely meritless. Like the first film looks kind of okay. Some of it's goofy as hell. Vampire baseball's fun. I like the wall of graduation caps because they just keep going to high school over and over forever because they're teen vampires. And that's like an interesting and fun twist on it. Like, there's some stuff to like here, even if it's not for me. And I feel like that's a fairly healthy attitude to bring to something. Like, I'm still evaluating art. I'm still treating it seriously.
I like that. Here's the thing. I love that you said that because I've been trying to get you to say that for years. That's how I always act. Mm-hmm. This is why I own Stealth. Because I was like,
I thought it was because someone got it to you as a gift, and I just thought it was very funny.
I bought it for like $4, and it's on DVD.
Yeah,
and I was like, you know what? This movie's fun. And I watched, and I'm like, I watched it, and I'm like, you know what? This movie's dumb, but I do like how they did that. And I do like this.
Mm-hmm. Held the record for the largest explosion on film for a while.
Yeah. Which I was like, really? But at the same time, I was like, okay. I thought the ending was pretty awesome. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, okay, that's cool. But by no means is that movie like, oh my goodness, this is perfect. What? They killed Jamie Foxx, which was the best character in the movie.
Fucking and he didn't even Spoilers for Stealth.
Please. That should not have been a spoiler if you know how movies are made, because he is the only black person in the core gamut of characters. Of course he's going to die. And he's going to die spectacularly, and that kind of makes it worse in my opinion. But anyway,
I mean, would you rather a Deep Blue Sea situation?
Oh man, that's a good question. Ooh, that's actually a really good question. Would I rather that, or would I rather this? I don't want to answer that. I actually don't want to answer that, because I'm like, I don't want to sit on one side of the fence or the other.
Guys, we found a question that was too hot for Cory.
Yeah, Jamie Foxx or Deep Blue Sea? Explosion or Deep Blue Sea, I should say. Oh, man. I mean, that was kind of cool how we went out. But at the same time...
Okay, Cory, we can move on.
No, we won't. Well, I mean, okay.
He's taking it so seriously.
But that's the thing is, because you said that, I was like, am I really taking it seriously? Not really. I'm not gonna... Because I would make the same comparison to something that we have argued with forever, is with the prequels, with the Star Wars prequels.
Yeah.
Clone Wars is my favorite. It's still my favorite.
It's unwatchable.
See? Yep. It's unwatchable to you, but I have so much fun to this day. With that movie. And I can tell you why, but it won't matter. It's one of those things where it won't matter, but at the same time, it's not like, oh, I will defend this forever. No, I'm just having fun. If you don't want to watch it, you don't have to. That's the attitude. That's what I mean.
So this correlates to, and I've been trying, like, at least since college and probably before, I've been trying to, like, solve the riddle of how to talk about bad movies. And in college, I had a theory called the movie clock, which was like, okay, you have a circle, and like there's the stations of the clock around it, and at like 1 o'clock, it's like, these are genuinely good movies. And then like it goes down, and at 6 o'clock, it's like, this is the where bad movies live, like stuff that you don't want to watch. But then it can go back up again. It's like, but now at 11 o'clock, it's so bad it shot the moon, and it's back up around.
Okay.
And first of all, that was just like a two chart axis like plot graph that I didn't know how to express.
Isn't that like a chart?
It's a really bad, in hindsight, it was a really bad way to try to talk about it. So now, like, the current vocabulary that I have, that I've talked about before, is I've got a 4-point question questionnaire, which this is influenced by CJ the X's excellent art critique videos. So, question 1, what was the artist trying to accomplish? Question 2, did they accomplish it? Question 3, was it worth accomplishing? Question 4, did I personally vibe with it? And what you're talking about, and I think this is something that like is just generally true for you, is you put a lot of weight on, did I vibe with it? You know?
I mean, to be fair, I think all of us put weights on different things. There is no... Yeah. I don't think anybody, unless you're a robot, or you're an alien or something, everybody puts weight on different things more than others.
Yeah, different currencies spend differently.
Yes, I 100% put it more into vibe because I feel, and I've told this to probably you and a whole bunch of other people, don't talk to me about what I should and shouldn't like. I'm the one spending the money. Unless you're buying it for me, I don't want to hear it from you. I don't want to hear nothing from you. So, yeah, I put, like me personally, I'm not saying everybody does this. I'm not saying everybody should do this. But I do say, hey, if it looks cool to me or something like that, I'm feeling this. Yeah, that's why I have so many movies that I may not completely like, but I find something in it that is valuable to me enough where I own it. And I used to be that guy who would go out and be like, hard copy everything.
Yeah. You really like the physical media.
Yeah, and I still do, but I am way more choosy now. I'm way more choosy because, like, my value has gone up, basically, if that makes any sense. The bar has been raised a lot. And that's something I kind of got from you a lot, too, where it's like the bar raises, like your bar was way up here. And I'm like, you know what? Maybe I should start moving my way up a little bit, because otherwise, if I'm sitting down here, I'm spending a lot of money and a lot of time and a lot of, feelings on stuff that probably doesn't deserve it.
Yeah.
Or at least as much as we would think. And I guess this is circling back to like what is a fan versus, lowercase fan with a, uppercase fan type thing because I never felt that way either that much. I used to be like ride or die on many, not many, but quite a few fandoms out there. Some that I just kind of fell off, and others I was like, okay, I need to just calm down because I don't actually care that much.
Yeah.
Like sometimes, and I think the internet has kind of obviously made it worse because people can literally say whatever. At least when you went hard in the paint in real life, there was the potential of getting punched. But now it's just like, people talk so much. They talk so much shit, like, behind the screen. And I think that can definitely promote almost, like, the toxicity and the gatekeeping and stuff like that. I'm a big fan of shouting gatekeepers down. I'm a huge
gatekeepers are unwelcome.
That is because otherwise I wouldn't be welcome. Like, for me personally, I wouldn't be welcome into certain things if it was for that reason. I'm pretty sure you wouldn't, like, not necessarily you wouldn't be either, but you wouldn't be so adamant about certain things that you like if it wasn't for that type of thing. Like, if you saw so many people like, oh, he's a real one. Like, if they were just speaking directly to you, like, oh, you're a real one. You're not like these people over here that are just fair weather people. Like, that immediately turns me off a lot.
So, an argument that I really hate the argument of just like, well, we've created an in-group and an out-group, but you're part of the in-group, so, like, you're cool with this. Yeah. And it's like, no, I'm fucking not. Like, it doesn't matter if I'm part of the in-group. I don't like that there is an in-group, and there shouldn't be. Like, I mean, so, like, let's maybe start bringing up more specific problems with fandoms, because, like, I've certainly got specific examples.
We're in that space right now, so...
Great.
Yeah.
So, like, Dark Souls, the From Software games are very special to me.
Oh boy. Yeah.
The Souls community, let's say that I was nebulously part of that fandom for a while, specifically around Dark Souls 1, like towards the release of Dark Souls 2. And my overall vibe from that community at that time was like, hey, shit sucks. We're all in this together, and we got to be like supportive and like affirmative. And I was just like, yeah, like I dig the positive vibes that are going around here. And then the Get Good crowd started getting traction. And then Dark Souls 2 came out and people were like, finally, dog shit. Now I can really be unleashed.
I can go in.
Why? Like, why are you so wrapped up in this? And there's people who still dunk on Dark Souls 2, like get mad about Dark Souls 2 to this day.
People still dunk on it to this day, and I don't even know why.
First of all, that game is good, actually. But second of all, why do you care so much? Why are you so wrapped up in this? This is weird to me. I don't understand your emotional investment in the fact of its badness and the requirement to spread the word, to promote awareness about the inadequacy of a sequel to a video game. Like, fucking wild to me.
Yeah, and you know what? That makes a good point that I see a lot, is I can understand even a little bit if you're trying to promote, not even a little bit. Screw that. I'm not even going to say that. I'm going to say I can understand wholeheartedly if you're trying to promote positivity and saying, oh, this is great. Oh, I had so much fun with this or something like that. But people are negative about that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
they do
get nasty.
No, this sucks. I need to hear you say it.
I need you to apologize to me for liking it.
Yes. And if you don't, then you don't deserve to be here. You don't even deserve to talk to me. Why am I talking to you? Get out of my face, loser. Go get good.
The problem is that you're just bad at it. Like, that's the real issue.
I've heard that so many times.
Fuck right off. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, you're just bad. I guess you're just bad. Oh, let me bring in an example for me. Because you were talking about Dark Souls.
Well, and let me kind of finish up a previous point.
You finish
quick,
up.
Like specifically with Dark Souls, because while I just said that, and I'm like, get over yourselves, you're being ridiculous. I'm on the record as not liking Dark Souls 3 or Sekiro very much, and I've spent a lot of words like complaining about those. And I'm not free from sin, and I'm not going to pretend like I am. But the difference is that like, I really go into concrete specifics about why I don't like it and why I feel this is a problem. I think Sekiro, like a big part of the appeal of the Dark Souls games is flexibility and allowing you to approach different situations. And in contrast, Sekiro is very prescriptive. You only really have one way to do it correctly. And then the tools that you have require a special resource, which requires farming. And why? Just have them respawn with you. Like all these little things that I think are meaningful critique. Like, I feel like those are valid things to talk about. And if I feel like, I'm comparing it to the whole catalog and I'm talking about like what parts work for me and what parts don't, like there certainly are elements of that to people who complain about Dark Souls 2. People who are very concerned about game feel, talk about how it feels off, or like, this level design and this flow doesn't work for me. But like, there's just a really big difference between this doesn't work for me and I hated this and I need to prove that it's bad to you. Again, like there's an emotional component and like a feeling of like righteous anger that like is like, this is too far. You're taking this.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I want to take media seriously. I want to take it seriously on its own terms. You're taking it seriously in the wrong way. You're taking it seriously.
Well, taking it personally.
Yeah, you're taking.
You act like you made it. Like, like when somebody like says, "This is not my thing," they're like shitting in your mouth or something like that. Like, how dare you? How dare you say that to me?
Yeah, ridiculous.
Somebody who likes this, who's a real fan. Like, I'm like, and what does that even mean? Real fan? What does that mean? Like, there's different levels to everything.
Yeah,
there's different levels to everything. It doesn't even matter in the grand scheme of things, and yet, because I get it, some media matters more to others than, like, to some than to others.
Yeah,
that's going to happen. That's why there's so much that exists. But there's no reason to tie your soul to something and be like, if this dies, I die, and then go down with the ship, or something like that.
For sure.
If this gets elevated, then I am a God.
then that means that
Like,
I've
amongst
succeeded.
men.
That's an accomplishment.
I made it. I personally made it. Yeah.
I like the good thing.
We made it. Type thing. I was like, I don't like that attitude at all because, like I said, that a lot of that has gatekeeping, like, you know, issues and stuff like that. But a lot of that, it's just, it doesn't. For me, I don't like that kind of an attitude. I never liked. First of all, I'm not a huge fan at all of like labels and categories and stuff anyway that people like to put themselves in. I hate that shit. I absolutely hate it.
Yeah.
So, something that people start to, categorize. When I feel that you're trying to categorize, certain things about what you like. It could be movies, video games, TV, whatever, books. It could be music. People do that with music all the time.
Sure.
And I'm like, okay, I don't like this attitude of trying to exclude some and others based on what you think should be good. Even high level I learned this years ago. Even high level critics, like movie critics and stuff, I still take with a grain of salt. Because they may know what they're talking about and all that kind of stuff, but you could very well miss out on something that you personally love. I.e., example for me, the biggest example, Hellboy 2, The Golden Army.
Oh, what a great movie.
I love that shit.
Yep.
And I remember one of my favorite media critics, movie guys. I still watch them to this day because they're still enjoyable, but I had to learn that you should still take everybody's stuff with a grain of salt because at the end of the day, it's going to be their opinion. They're not speaking for everybody.
Yeah.
It's going to be their opinion because I saw that movie before I watched their review on it and I loved it. I was like, this is what I wanted. This should be, if back then Netflix was relatively still new and you still had to get them from like a Redbox thing.
Yeah.
But I was like,
give me them
if
discs.
If
through
Netflix
the mail.
ever made
like a pervert.
I guess. But I remember saying, I was like, if they made a TV show, like a live action TV show like this is perfect. This is the comic.
Yeah.
And they went hard on it. They're like, this is not like the first one. This is dumb. This is so childish and everything. And I was like, I immediately got turned off. And I was like, how could you guys? And then I had to step back and say, you know what? I'm still going to like this. And nobody can say nobody can do anything about it.
So let's camp out on that real quick because like what you're describing I think is a really common phenomena where you in that moment
you're talking about for me personally or just in general for like
you
just
personally in
people?
That moment.
Oh, okay.
You had these media critics who you respected and liked and felt like some kind of connection with them. And then suddenly there was a disconnect. And that schism like caused you I mean what you just described is like a kind of like mental like distress where you're just like, how do I reconcile these two incompatible ideas?
I mean, I was super young back then too when that happened. Well, not super young, but I was young enough where I was still developing, lack of a better term. And I was I'm still developing.
Like,
yeah, we're all still developing. We will learn until we die, and then we will learn to die. But anyway,
badass.
Badass. I'm gonna learn to die how I learned to be born.
Has some troubling implications.
Yes, but anyway. Yeah. Go. I'm sorry, I interrupted you with just how it's how I was like young and still going through it and still trying to learn to make a healthy disconnect.
Yeah.
You don't have to completely. I mean, you know what? I shouldn't even say that too, because sometimes it is the healthy thing to do to step back and say, you know what? And this comes with personal taste and personal lines and whatnot. There are certain things that are like unforgivable. And then there are certain things that are like, you know what? I'm not about that, but I still like the art type thing. And that's just something that's going to have to be personal for everybody. Everybody's going to have that thing. But this is very light in terms of that, where I just had to step back and say, you know what? I'm just going to have to disagree with these guys. And that's going to happen. It has happened. It has happened with a lot of stuff, not just them. Like I said, I still like to watch them, but at the same time, I am comfortable and not embarrassed anymore by stepping back and saying, you know what? I'm going to take a break from these guys. I'm not really feeling what they're talking about right now. I'll come back later or whatever.
Yeah.
And
so, I mean, something that we neglected to talk about because we're so focused on entertainment, but like you also totally, like fandoms exist around people as well.
Oh, fandoms totally do. Yeah.
And, you know, if you are really wrapped up in someone who you care about, who you're invested in, and then they say some dumb shit or they have an opinion that you don't agree with, even if it's just something simple, like, you know, Hellboy, The Golden Army, not being a badass movie, which it is. You can feel that disconnect because it's easy for us to develop, you know, parasocial relationships or like these kind of bonds. Yeah.
Yep. Because we do it naturally.
If we allow ourselves to get wrapped up in stuff, it can be easy for us to be like going with the flow and not even realize it, like to get caught up in the current until something snaps you out of it. And then you're just like, wait a second, am I being a rational actor here? Why am I upset that Noah Caldwell-Gervais thinks that BioShock Infinite is really great when that's the only bad opinion that he has and all of his other opinions are really good?
Oh, okay.
It's like the one, like I disagree with him on like 2 opinions, but like,
well, also that is you incarnate. Like
he's
that
so
guy,
great. I love him.
I know that is totally you. Like, I mean, I'm not saying that he's a bad guy, but he is very, for me, he is very monotone, and he's great to look. Like, if he was teaching a class, like a graduate's class, and he was putting that out, and I was like, this is really well information. Let me write notes down and everything. But after a while, I'm like,
I have watched every one of his videos at least twice.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. I say the same thing about Tim Rogers.
I love Tim Rogers.
And his stuff. But Tim Rogers is my dude. He cracks me up because that's how I like to engage with audiences and stuff. He's very informative, but he is so... It's just his delivery, which is crazy.
It's incredible.
He throws in a lot of jokes. He's been an online journalist for years, you can tell. And he's had his own kind of shtick that he does. And I appreciate that because it's a shtick that is based, in my opinion, in positivity. And I think one of the biggest things where I saw that shine is when he talked about Cyberpunk 2077. Because he didn't like that movie. I mean, that game. He didn't like that game. Yet he had stuff to say about it that wasn't like... He
had 10 hours worth of stuff to say about it. Oh, man.
Yeah, but it wasn't 10 hours of hate.
No, certainly not.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think that's beautiful, in my opinion. Yeah. And like I said, the other guy, Noah, great, but he makes me fall asleep. Because he's like, well, and then I'll tell you thing, you know, and then the colors, and then this one, you know, and then we go without. And then there's a long pause.
The problem is that this boss in Resident Evil Code Veronica X doesn't give you proper checkpointing. And I'm like, he's right.
Yeah. It's like you sniff it, and it's like, that's my kind of shit.
Yeah, the checkpointing is weird. Yeah, I do hate that metal detector puzzle. Yeah.
Meanwhile, I'm like, What happened? Where are we in this video?
And then I turn to you and I'm like, Cory, you've been asleep for 7 hours.
He's still going for 7 hours? I'm not hating on Noah. I actually really like how his observations and his videos and stuff. It's just I've learned that for me personally, though I like the guy, I'm not a big fan of his video style, his video essay style. Yeah. I like more of a Tim Rogers. It's the same way with what's her name? We were talking about this like years ago, but what's her name? Who does a lot of she used to do a lot of Transformers videos.
Lindsay Ellis.
Lindsay Ellis.
Who I am still pissed about her fucking non-controversy of a cancellation.
Oh yeah. I saw that and I agree with that actually. I was like, really?
No.
Really, guys? But at the same time, I will say I watched a couple of her things. I tried to get into her, but she's way too robotic for me. It's way too way too much of like an analyst of. Cause I watched the Bright video. I remember this years ago.
Yep.
And while I agree 100% with her, because I watched that movie myself too, and I was disappointed because I'm like, I felt like I could do this better. And when I usually feel that way, I'm not saying I'm an expert or anything, but I love urban fantasy. I love the hell out of it. And I was like, guys, this feels so, 1, lackluster, 2, unfinished, 3, you guys could have done better with the... Yeah, it was very confusing. And I'm just like, oh man, I am so disappointed in this. But she was on another level of disappointed where I was like, okay, I get it. I kind of get it. But at the same time, then I watched her Hunchback of Notre Dame video and I was like, see, more of this. Because I could feel the passion coming out of this. But that's not with a lot of most of her other videos. And I'm like, eh.
So for other videos, you're trying to watch it, it's just like, it feels like I'm talking to a bird.
It does feel like I'm talking to a bird. I love that movie so much, but so many tonal issues. But anyway, I mean, but that's the thing is, are we such fans? Are you such a fan of Noah that if he said, not saying that this is going to happen, but if he said some off shit, like you wouldn't be like, oh, I love him too much. I can't believe it. Or would you be like, what's going on there, buddy?
I like to think that there's no one who I'm so attached to that I will carry water for them if they decide to say some real garbage horse shit. You know, if they decide like,
I mean, if you're that way, dude, congratulations to you because that's really hard to do.
Yeah. I mean, I can't think of anyone who.
But that also comes with the idea of what we were talking about before. We'll go into a little bit of this, but of hype. Of you don't let yourself get hyped like at all, though. So
yeah,
like about really anything.
That's okay. So like I feel like
I'm just speaking from what you're telling me. I'm just speaking from what you've told me.
So the philosophy that I have, and the specific turn of phrase comes from Gary Butterfield of the Duckfeed Podcast Network, which I'm a fan of. But just like kill the hype inside you. Like it does nothing worthwhile. Like it is not a useful thing to have. It's not the most that you will ever get from hype is that it met your expectations. And anything less than that is going to be rough. Or you're going to have that thing where it's just like, I'm in the Star Wars fandom and they just put out Attack of the Clones, which I don't like. But this is like, I should like it. Am I wrong for not liking it? Other people say they like it. Like, it creates really unnecessary, complicated feelings when it can just be, I don't know, like, don't go into that movie hyping yourself up. Don't be going into it with expectations. Just let it happen and then see how you feel about it. It seems, again, like brain dead obvious, but like that's really the way to do it. To loop back around to the beginning, look at this. Hey, I'm doing a callback to something we mentioned at the beginning of the episode.
Uh-oh.
Rather than just absolutely forgetting to ever address it again. But
I write shit down, man.
You mentioned the Callisto Protocol, which at the time of our recording has come out this week. And
yes.
It's getting middle of the road reviews.
Yeah.
And that's not a problem. Like, for me, like, of course I'm excited about survival horrors, AAA Renaissance, where it's like there's 4 or 5 big budget horror games coming out in a relatively short time span. And that's cool. That's exciting as a fan. If one of them isn't amazing, that's fine. I'm not that invested in it. But, like, there was a lot of buzz around it. I think there was a lot of hype, more specifically around the people involved, because it's from the creators of Dead Space. So, like, there are associations and expectations rather than just, like, this thing existing in a vacuum.
Yeah.
And the fact that people feel betrayed by it only being okay, like, is that you having a rational reaction to a piece of media? Or is this more closely related to the fact that an enormous, well-funded marketing machine conspired to make you excited about a product without necessarily being an accurate representation of what you were getting in for? It is just like, saying it didn't live up to the hype sounds better and maybe feels better emotionally than, like, the advertising worked and I got real caught up in it. It is just
I mean, yeah, I'm gonna say I'm 75% there with you in terms of how you feel about hype, because I get it. I get what you're saying, but at the same time, I don't feel the same way as how hype is supposed to work, because I basically equate hype to expectations. Because for me personally, like I said, and I know a lot of other people do this, and don't feel shamed that you are like this either, is you get excited about stuff. You're supposed to. I feel like you're supposed to. Now, there's a thing we have talked about this in, like, another episode, like our marketing episode, about getting fooled, because that's what marketing kind of is. It's not necessarily tricking you, but at the same time, it's tricking you into investing in something. It could be anything, but it's investing your time, your money, your feelings sometimes into something. But I don't consider that. It's not always a bad thing, because if that didn't exist, how would we like new stuff? Yeah. How would we...
The problem of discoverability.
Because I will tell you right now, and we're looping back to how what I was talking about beforehand, is if it's something I'm not interested in, you can't get me to, talk bad about it or go invest in it, because I'm paying my money, I'm paying my time, or whatever it is. It could be anything. Into
even attention.
Attention. So, if a marketing thing, and here's the thing, and this is like a balancing act. This is the whole balancing act with fandoms and hype and expectations in general, is you can get excited about something, but when you walk into it, your excitement has to be tailored. Yeah. It can't blow... for example, with Black Panther 2, we'll use a recent example that I just went to
a movie that I have not yet seen.
Yeah. But we'll talk about Black Panther first. But yeah, I went into that, I was like, okay, I know I'm going to like this. I know I'm going to like this. It's just a level of how much am I going to like this. And I brought it back down, because I was excited, but I brought it back down to, I'm still watching a movie. I'm still watching an experiment, a Marvel experiment, because this kind of thing has never really happened before. Usually they recast and move on. But they're like, no, we're going to run with this. And that's risky on multiple levels. And I'm like...
Agreed.
Okay, let's see how this goes. Because I used to type that all the time for years, and then I don't know why I still don't. I probably, forgot, because that's definitely me. I probably forgot. But I used to type this every time I would sit in a theater, because I would go to the movies by myself. I don't give a shit. But,
it's a good time. Go to the movies by yourself. It's fun.
Yeah. Man, I did it so much. But I would go down and I would put in my Facebook profile, okay, let's see how this goes. Like, I would pin where I am and see, I'm watching this. I'm like, let's see how this goes. That was my mantra. That's still my mantra of like, we'll see how this goes. I'm excited. We'll see how it is. Let's see. And that is a level, I tailored my hype. It's not through the roof. I would never, as much as I like some things and whatnot, I would never dress up, go to a movie, dress up and, in cosplay or something like that. I think that's a little too much. Not hating the people that do that. If you like that, some people love the cosplay and they're good at it.
Yeah.
Go ahead and do your thing. But for me, that is a level of hype that I can't get to. Because I'm like, nah, I'm not going to spend all that work and all that time just to go in and then be disappointed.
Yeah.
And I was like, why would I do that? I want to go in and have myself a good time, not be sweaty and upset when I come out. It's like, why did I wear all this?
So my version of that was when I was I was still a teen at the time, but the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy movie was coming out, and so me and a couple of friends were just like, oh, it'd be fun. Let's bring towels, because towels, we'll bring towels to the movie, and then we did, and we were like, haha, we've got towels. And then we went in and watched a thoroughly mediocre movie with an excellent cast, admittedly.
Yep, it was a solid C.
It's a real middle of the road, just like doesn't really capture what's special about the thing. And then I had to walk out of the movie theater with a fucking towel, and I was just like, God damn it.
The shame. The walk of shame. Because people were looking at you like, see, I bet you they it was like, I wonder if they loved it.
Yeah.
Or they hated it. They don't look very happy. Oh, man, type thing. But
yeah. But like people who go to, Star Wars movies, which are, the perennial example, because those fans are so outsized. There's footage
prequels
of
definitely
people
lost their minds.
Yeah.
The prequels definitely brought that out a lot.
Yeah. There's footage of people going to the prequel movies and the movie starting, and they're literally like dressed up in costume on their knees, weeping tears of joy. And it's just like, guys.
This
is the Phantom Menace.
It's a movie.
I don't know what to tell you.
It's a movie, guys. Well, it's not, that's hindsight, though. That is hindsight is 2020. Right there, in the moment, still doesn't necessarily hit, though, because I'm like, I understand liking things a lot. Believe me. Believe us. We're both that way. Like, I'll tell you right now,
very passionate
Avatar
about
The Last
art.
Airbender is the bee's knees.
It's a special
almost
show.
all of it is so special. Like, you hit it right on the head. I am not going to go to somewhere and weep or see, like, even if they get it right, even if it's like an 8 or 9 out of 10, like, even if it's that, like the live action thing that Netflix is doing, even if they do it right, I'm still not going to be like, oh, I finally did it. I can die in peace, for my eyes have seen salvation.
At last I can depart from this mortal coil.
I'm not going to do that, guys. Just because I say that, now hear me. When I say that, it's no disrespect to the media itself or the fact that you like it a certain way. Because this is just how I like it. And we were there since the beginning. I remember the second season coming out, and we were in freshman or like sophomore year of college or something?
I think sophomore.
It was in the prime.
Yeah.
And we were animation students.
Watching fucking the season 2 finale like live as it aired was hype as fuck, boy.
What? Like, that was an amazing time.
I use hype in the it was exciting and cool to be because it was good. Yeah. We weren't doing, I don't know, trying to draw a distinction between the different uses of the word hype there.
Well, here's the thing is, everybody got when you did it, everybody got it.
I know.
At least I got it. If nobody else got it, then why are you listening to us? This happens all the time.
I just like.
But anyway,
there's part of it where I feel like if I can be articulate enough, I won't be labeled as a hypocrite for my obviously hypocritical views, and also just like, trying to draw the distinction between like being a good media critic and also I just like some things, which is
that, to
hard.
Me, bro, to me, that is being a good media critic, because we're all not going to get everything right. Excuse me. We're all not going to get everything right.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you're the smartest movie critic, you know how many criticisms of Roger Ebert and whatever is,
Siskel,
those guys get? You know how many criticisms they get just by being, I think they're themselves. And a lot of people are like that. They are very intelligent when it comes to the media that they, analyze and do all this kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. But to me, it's how you say it, the tone you say it in, and how you really feel. Because you cannot give me your objective opinion without throwing the subjective in there, because I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to, I could read, and that's the thing is, I can read the instruction manual or whatever.
Totally.
A review or something from a actual person. No, tell me how you feel about the movie. I mean, about the movie or whatever. Because guess what? This is how fandoms can actually be a good thing, is if you're that way, if you are, I don't want to say pillar because that sounds weird, but if you are a prominent member or something like that, but you're also a nice person, then people are going to be like, they're going to listen to you a lot more often or whatever, or, take your opinion into account a lot more often. And then you can say, hey, because I always listen to critics of any kind on YouTube. Mm-hmm. I always listen to a little thing that they kind of either say or lead to that would endear me to them.
Sure.
This is how I feel about this. This is my opinion type thing. They may not say that, but there's this is kind of where I'm coming from. Okay. And if you're coming from the same angle, then you're probably not going to like it. You're probably going to like this. But if, you're coming from this angle, then you might, find this, you might like this or might not. If, years ago when I wanted to do movie reviews and stuff, because I thought that was a cool idea, I always had a thing that I would say after every... No, I said this when I was on the radio. What am I talking about? I remember this. Is when I would do kind of review stuff like that. And I would say, okay, this is how I gave my lowdown on, all this information about the movie, because I'm talking about movies and stuff. And this is how I feel about it. Now, if you are fans of XYZ, you'll probably enjoy this movie.
Sure.
If you are not fans of those, you're probably not going to like it. But at the end of the day, it's up to you. But if you are fans of these similar things to this, you're probably going to end up liking it. And I thought that was fair, because then people would have other examples and be like, you know what? I like that. Or I'm not a fan of any of those movies, so I'm probably not going to like this. And it was no harm, no foul. It was like, yeah sure. That's fine. I'm not going to bash you for not liking the new Superman movie. Because, it's a thing. There's so many different... Superman's an old character. You know how many versions of them are out there?
Oh, yeah.
Batman is an old character. People are looking at, the new Batman movie, The Batman, and they're like, oh, best Batman ever. And I'm like, yeah, that's fine. This is Batman Year One. They basically started over, but this is fine. I like this version. I use another example, going back to superheroes, the new Superman show,
there's
Superman
a new Superman
and Lois.
Show?
Superman and Lois.
Oh,
I think
right.
it is
the CW show.
Yeah, I think it's the best version in years.
Oh,
but
nice to hear.
Yeah, I think going back to animation. Do you remember that movie All-Star Superman?
I've read All-Star Superman. I've never seen the animated adaptation.
Yeah, the animated thing is very good.
Yep.
I love All-Star Superman. I think that's one of the best animated versions in a very long time. And it felt like All-Star Superman. And I was like, this is how you do Superman right here. This is my... But that's the thing is, what I just said is exactly what I'm talking about. This is how you do Superman for me. Because I don't want to make it like, this is the best thing, and if you don't like this, you like that other stuff, how dare you? No, this is just how I like it. Yeah. But that doesn't mean that we all, like, the fandom of Superman, they all can't be like, yeah, that's cool. I like this one personally, or something. I mean, and we all can get along that way.
I feel like Batman is the best example because I genuinely can't think of another character in popular fiction that has been interpreted in such a diverse range of styles, where it's like you could be a fan of only Adam West Batman. You could be a fan of only, the very serious Nolan trilogy,
Christian Bale.
But like, there's a huge spectrum and so many different interpretations where it's like, well, if you like Adam West Batman, you'll probably like Brave and the Bold.
I knew you were going to bring up Brave and the Bold.
Yeah. If you like the Nolan trilogy, you'll probably like The Batman. But like, there's just so many incarnations and versions. If you like Lego Batman, you'll probably like Holy Musical Batman, which I don't think I mentioned in the musical episode, but that it's a fucking miracle. Everyone should watch Holy Musical Batman.
Is it anything like Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark?
It's literally nothing like Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark. It's a Star Kids musical. So it's available for free on YouTube. Yeah. And it's a low budget, like community theater kind of thing. Yeah. But like, my God, it is extremely my shit. The humor works for me completely. It's basically like, what if we were in 1966 Adam West Batman world? But with like the Dark Knight Returns Batman, where he's just like really like
gritty,
really grim, really serious. But in this like outlandish cartoony world, and it's got so much fucking heart to it. Like it's sweet. It's good. It's very funny.
Can we just talk a little bit before we go to the last point? Can we just talk a little bit about that aspect of, I don't want to say small or big aspect of fandom, which is loving something so much that you are okay with making fun of it.
The ability to not take something so seriously, I think, is a healthy sign. I agree.
That is because now I used to, I don't know how to put this, because there is this is a level. There's levels to this, because here's the thing. I think Miller and Lord do this phenomenally with their content.
Great track record.
They have that's the perfect way to put it. They have a great track record doing this multiple times with source material, where they they appreciate it. They love it, but at the same time they're like, see guys, this is weird. This is dumb. They did it with Batman. They did it with Spider-Man. They did it with Legos. They did it with Cotty with a Chance of Meatballs, which I love.
Yep.
I know a lot of people are like, hem and haw about that. I think the first one is phenomenal.
Good. And also was the important first step in Sony Pictures Animation tackling non-photorealistic animation in a meaneful way. There's a direct line between that and Spider-Verse.
Yeah, I think most, if not all, of their content is phenomenal, because it hits exactly how I would want to make things. Like we talked about Spider-Verse before, of that is the type of level of animated action that I was like, this is what I wanted to make. This is what I aspired to make in college, and I didn't know I wanted to do it this way. I didn't know. I saw this in my head. I just didn't know how to do it. Yeah. Because I'll admit, I wasn't that talented. I was like, I was basic. And I was like, I don't know how to do this level. But I know I liked it. And I know that's what a lot of people, including myself, wanted to see for a long time in terms of animated action, in cartoons or movies or whatnot. It pushed it to another level, to where now, like I said, it's the same thing that Arcane did. Arcane did the same thing. It pushed it to another level of animated action where it's like, okay, this is what we're talking about when we're talking about you need to have your action on point to get to that, to push it now. You can't just be like lazy anymore unless you're doing it on purpose for an artful reason. But, and that just excited me. That hyped me up, like, for a good reason. I remember when I saw Arcane, because I didn't think that much of Arcane, because I was like, oh, League of Legends thing?
Fucking League of Legends, really?
Yeah.
Boy, let me list all of my favorite League of Legends characters.
Yeah, exactly. But here's the thing. I think a lot of people were like that. In fact, most of the people I know, and everybody was like, League of Legends, why would they make a thing? Is it really that popular? And then you look at how popular it is. I'm like, oh, okay, well then why would they make something like this that actually feels like it has nothing to do with anything, but it actually has everything to do with anything? But the marketing was on point, and the story wasn't about the game. The story was about the story.
Yeah.
And everything. I've listened to multiple people talk about it, and people that played League of Legends, and they said this has nothing to do with the game, and that's a good thing.
Yeah,
it's just about the world, and the world is what's interesting. The game sucks, but it's so addicting. So I'm glad they didn't make it about lanes or something like that. They made it just about the world.
Yeah.
Because the world is interesting.
Like, imagine if they were doing, like, tongue-in-cheek references to, like, lanes and control points and cooldown timers.
The game.
Or if they shouted out, like, this is just like, and then they made, like, a sly reference to, like, a professional esports player. Like,
yeah. I mean, that doesn't work. It doesn't work.
Yeah. Fortunately, the worst we were subjected to was an animated version of Imagine Dragons, which was not ideal, but,
I mean, it's not ideal, but it's not the worst thing ever. I was like, and they were only in there for like 5 seconds, and they just looked confused. So, at least they got it. But, I mean, that's the kind of stuff that we want to get excited about. We want to have hype, even if you have to temper it. But that stuff is necessary, because otherwise I would never have watched Arcane. And I'm going to be completely 100% honest. I would never have watched Arcane if it wasn't for that kind of hype that was like, no, man, these action scenes are phenomenal. And I'm like, really? Like, I did the whole like eye slant thing. I was like,
squint.
Yeah. And I'm glad I took that chance and been like, okay, I'm ready. Let's see what's going on.
Here's the other thing, and I think that like maybe this doesn't get talked about enough when it comes to the not origin, like how fandoms are created. And I think universally, this is true in almost every case. It is a group of people who are chasing the dragon of something that was special to them once. And hoping that it will be special again, hoping that it will continue to give them what they wanted. But almost all of these things come from a place of like, yeah, but the thing was special. Like, Arcane was not something that I had hype for in the release up to it. Like, I wouldn't qualify that. And what I have now isn't hype for a future season. It's like appreciation and anticipation. Like, I'm sure it will be good, but it'll come when it comes. And when it does, I'll judge it based on its merits, not just me chasing the dragon of something that I had before.
Yeah, I can definitely understand, because that is something like, it's almost like a drug almost, where it's like, oh, I need that high again of that.
I mean, that's why I'm choosing that phrasing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost that follow through of, I need my hype to go that high again, and then the follow through of it being like worth it. And like that, to me, that is perfectly valid, but that goes right back to tempering your hype, tempering your expectations, because I will say that I do have hype for season 2, but it's not the kind of hype that people talk about. It's more of the, I'm excited. I'm excited to see what they come up with next. But at the same time, like you said, because I feel the same way of, we'll let them work. I'm not in no hurry. Yeah. I got time. When it comes out, I will be excited to watch it. But I got time. But I got other stuff to watch, man.
But if you find the novelty Twitter account about the person who's like, I will draw a piece of fan art every day until Arcane Season 2 comes out, and then Season 2 is only okay, what's that going to do to that person?
Oh, well, and that's the thing is, I'm not mad at that person. I'm just sad about it. I'm sad about that person because they're not only did they, I don't think they wasted their time per se, but they're also, all of that weight was on them. It felt like it was their personal responsibility that if they didn't do this, somebody else was going, like, if they didn't do it, nobody would. Look, type thing.
Novelty Twitter account making a new piece of fan art every day for Arcane Season 2. I don't want to alarm you, but if you don't draw a piece of fan art every day until Arcane Season 2 comes out, the sun won't rise anymore. We're all counting on you.
Or better yet, they just won't make it. They're watching.
This started as your personal hell, but now you got promoted. Congratulations. We're very proud of you. This bit's gotten weird.
Yeah, we're not paying you anything. But anyway, yeah.
I think there's a real thing to, like, chasing after something. Like, yeah, the first Matrix was great, and I left the theater feeling amazing. Like, of course, I'm going to love whatever happens in the sequels. Like, that's just a given because I've already, like, given myself over to this thing. And I don't know. Sometimes it can be okay to be, like, it's okay to be a fan of a person. It's okay to be a fan of a project, but when you wrap it up into your identity, when you make it like something bigger, when you give it stakes, when it has to be good or else, I feel like it's really quickly turns into
I'm going to use a different example for this because I don't want this. I want to go to the last point because the last point is very important. But this is my last example, quote unquote real world example. It's a sports example.
Sports fandoms are fucking real.
Oh boy, and I'm a part of a couple. So I'm a
Hades Tiger man myself.
Yeah.
Baseball is coming back, baby.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Stupid. It's dumb.
You.
I only dress up in the clothes of a fan because when the actual thing is happening, I'm like, oh, that's neat.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on, but hey, people are hype around me, which is a contact high is a thing. And hey, that's how. You want to know why everybody is like slobbering at the mouth at concerts sometimes? Congratulations. Sure. You've experienced contact high, or you've experienced a real high. Depends on what concert you go to. But anyway, this particular example, and for anybody who watches basketball, because I'm a huge basketball fan, you'll know this example that happened a couple years ago with LeBron James, King James. Him team hopping all over the place. My mom hates him because she calls him a big moose, but I don't think he's that bad. But also, I'm a fan, but not a fan with a capital F, because I know he's a good player, but at the same time, he's whiny sometimes, and I'm like, oh, okay. But, everybody lost their minds when he went to LA. They lost it. How could he leave Cleveland after a win?
How could he betray me specifically?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And it's not just him. People do that everywhere. Like with, I'm just talking about the NBA, period. But this happens with basketball. Football. American football is nuts. Now, to a certain extent, I am complicit because I also do not like Tom Brady, and I'm glad he retired because I just don't like the Pats. But at the same time, I'm just letting you know, yes, that I am complicit in this nonsense. However, I do not bet on any of this kind of nonsense either. So I don't put personal stakes and all that kind of stuff on it either.
That's a bad.
Now, mind you, that is actually a problem that people have, and it's an unfortunate problem. People do have a gambling issue, and sports gambling is a problem, especially if you don't got no money and you bet on it anyway.
Yeah, don't do that.
Yeah, please.
Don't follow the example of Will Smith from Shark Life.
Oh, you mean Shark Tale?
DreamWorks' greatest performance.
Oh, I saw that in theaters too. It was great. It was a great experience. No, I'm dead serious. It was one of the best theater experiences I've ever had.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Did I tell you about that story, man? I had to.
I think you did. Like, it's ringing a bell.
Yeah, I had to. I'll tell you that one day on one of the podcasts. Send us an email if you want if you want me to elaborate on my great and
for
terrible
just pennies a day. You can hear
Cory
Cory tell you about the time he went to see Shark Tale in theater.
Yeah, I'm dead serious. I had some crazy theater experiences, man. That's why I love the theater so much. I love it so much that I'm glad it's not going away, but at the same time, I'm glad it's changing because it needs to change because people are terrible. So, or they can be terrible, I should say.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's crazy how like people can get with certain teams and sometimes like, and this, what's the funny thing about this is the sports industry knows this. The sports industry knows how crazy people are and crazy sports fans are. Like in football, I was just talking with my sister about this. In football, they have a roster of the craziest teams, the craziest fans. And what do you know? It happens to be Eagles fans. Because they'll burn down their city if they win. So...
pop quiz, question. I know where the Eagles are from, but like... Dave is listening to the podcast right now. Hey, Dave. I know for a fact that Dave doesn't know. Which city is that?
It's Philly.
I was going to say, that sounds like Philly.
It sounds like Philly. That's so messed up.
The greatest sports chant of all time. We're from Philly. Fucking Philly. Everyone hates us. We don't care.
I love Philly, too. We just came back from vacation there, but there's something else. There's something else over there. There's something else. Boston sometimes isn't any better, though. Because I love Boston, too. My dad hates Boston. If we're speaking with basketball again, my dad hates the Celtics, because that's what the team is called. I know it's pronounced Celtics, but the team is called Celtics.
The Celtics.
And, yeah. So, that's Boston for you. It's Boston.
Boston.
But anyway...
Meanwhile, we're over here being like, go Stillers.
Oh, man, we said, man, go Stillers, all right? All right, Snoop Dogg is right. Like, Snoop Dogg comes to our town all the time. Oh, by the way, if anybody is figuring it out, I live in Pittsburgh. But, yeah.
We're both PA natives, so we get to talk shit about Philly.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. See, and I'll say I am not from Philly, but I will support the Sixers any day. So, because that is technically the only PA NBA team that we got here. Yes, I know that I live. I don't want to say relative. I don't live relatively close anymore to Cleveland. My brother lives in Cleveland, though.
You can take a day trip to Cleveland.
Yeah, but my brother doesn't like sports really, though. But yeah, but I know everybody's like Cleveland, yes, but I'm like, I like the Sixers. Thank you very much. Yes, I know they don't win. I'm just gonna leave it. I mean,
you can look. It could be worse. You could be a fan of the other Pittsburgh team, the Pirates.
Right. Well, here's the thing. And this is where fandoms are fun, guys, because now we're getting into the last part of the last leg. This is where fandoms can be fun. This is a perfect segue because the Pirates suck, but we know why they suck, and we know they suck, but we still go to games because they're fun. We still go because the tickets are cheaper. We just go and get drunk and eat horrible popcorn, stadium popcorn, and just fool around and whatever.
Yeah,
it's just a good day out. It's just a support of the Pittsburgh. It's just a support of Pittsburgh. If we want to get serious, we'll go watch the Penguins. For anybody who's not from Pittsburgh, we'll just go watch them.
They're actually
because if we want to get serious, yeah, they're a consistent team. They're not doing so good this year, but they're at least consistent. But because the Steelers aren't doing that good. But they haven't been doing good for a while.
My brother does fantasy hockey, so I get to hear updates on how Pouliardi is doing every week.
So your brother knows.
Go pool party.
Yeah. See, I'm a bracket person, so when when Final Four comes around, that's when I start getting crazy because I love college basketball.
I invoke pool party the way that Jason Mendoza shouts Bortles.
Yeah. But anyway, that's my last point that we want to get into. Like, how can we be better fans, basically, so you don't end up in the fandom zone because you don't want to go there. How can we, and we're not speaking from a place of we know better than everybody else, but in our experience of just mellowing out, getting older, being within, certain, different fandoms and how we interact with each other and how they interact with other fandoms and stuff like that. Because, I mean, if you know how bad it can be, just look at Star Wars versus Star Trek people. They're insane. And I'm like, why? Why?
Pointless discourse. Like, it doesn't go anywhere. Like, all you're doing is saying, I prefer one thing. I prefer another thing.
Exactly. So why? But why?
But it's, to me, Star Wars versus Star Trek, people arguing passionately about what makes one thing special versus another. Like, I'm actually, kind of okay with it. You're like, if you're arguing the merits of media, cool. That's media discussion. Hopefully you're coming from it, being informed enough to actually have a meaningful opinion, and you're not just being shitty. Just shouting down people or something like that. I'm going to point the finger. Let's just say that no one wants another Rick and Morty McNugget sauce incident.
Yeah, let's not do that again.
Let's just point fingers at a fandom and just be like, don't do that. That's the thing. Starting point, don't do that one.
Don't do this. Good idea.
You can choose to be better.
Yeah. Bad idea.
Yep. I think that, what does it mean to be a good fan? And, I think it's kind of a similar question to, what does it mean to be a responsible citizen in society?
It's very similar.
What does it mean to be a good person? There's a lot of overlap between these questions, and it gets philosophical real quick. But, the main thrust of it is, care about the people around you. Acknowledge other people's feelings. Don't invalidate other people's truth. Have an open mind when it comes to differences. Don't get swallowed up in the narcissism of small differences, which is a weird turn of phrase that I learned recently, but that's basically we're two fans and we like exactly the same thing, except I think Obi-Wan is the best and you think that Yoda is the best, and now that means we're enemies, which is absurd.
It's dumb.
But people will do that. They'll take it too far. They'll get really personally invested in small ball shit. You can choose not to be that person. But also have a sense of community, not gatekeeping. Have it be inclusive, not exclusive. When someone says,
I'm sorry, I was just gonna say let's be a community and not a bureaucracy. Let's not turn this into a you pay to play type situation. So I'm sorry, I just wanted to put that in there, but yeah, you can just keep
No,
going.
I think that's very valid. I think there's a real genuine danger, not like, literal danger, but like it is a real warning sign to me if a fandom has not elected leaders, but like representatives, people who they point to as authorities and like, oh,
Yeah.
and again, this is, I think, a phenomena that's like pretty common in online spaces. There, like, my go-to example for like, don't do that. There is an absolutely fucking wild story, and I encourage people to look up YouTube video essays that document the Silent Hill fandom and Circumcision Gate.
I think I've heard this, and this was crazy.
It was basically just like, there was a mod of a Silent Hill wiki, I think, who had, the smallest amount of power and authority possible by virtue of being a mod or whatever.
Yeah.
And started inserting his pet theory that like everything in Silent Hill was a veiled metaphor for the trauma induced by circumcision. And it's just like, okay, this is a franchise that deals with like psychosexual horror, that deals with like a lot of like stuff. It's not a totally impossible read in some circumstances, but like the lengths this guy went to absolutely are mind blowing and
unacceptable. Like it's an unacceptable situation.
And it wasn't just him inserting himself into it. It was him getting into fights and banning people and like really like taking hold of the ship of this wiki, which, is not the fandom, but is so closely related to the fandom.
Yeah, If it's something that everybody refers to, even anonymously, then there's a problem. Yeah. If you're, decide that, no, I am the captain now.
Exactly. And just taking the wheel and forcibly changing it to his preferred course.
Forcibly turning it. Literally forcibly turning it.
Yeah. Like, that's just wild shit. Why? Yeah. You don't want to be that person. Look at yourself. Look in the mirror and be like, do I want my emotional investment and happiness to be tied to
what
this?
Tied to one thing. People get like crazy about certain things. And like I said, I keep going back to, I understand getting hype and excited about things and being like, especially when you find other people that are excited about it as you.
Totally.
Like, this is why we geeked out. We have episodes of us geeking out about, like, Bloodborne and, like, shit like that. Like, we're both big fans.
Under no circumstances do I want to make it sound like I'm saying that you shouldn't like things.
Yeah. I mean, well, I don't think you're saying that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think you're saying that, but I just want to clarify for anybody who may get even the slightest thing. Now, at the end of the day, people are going to think what they're going to think. But still, like, I just want to say that to people is, we get it. Like, even if we're not old men, they're like, oh, we've got 50 years on you, cowboys. No, but still, we get it that, like, it's in the throes of what's going on right now, especially, what's popular right now and everything. Like, things are just moved into the limelight of, this was just like a subculture, like so many subcultures. Like, we haven't even gotten into, like, we haven't even done a podcast about anime. Oh my goodness.
Ooh.
Are you crazy? People are crazy.
Those fandoms are too much.
Yes, they're crazy. But also, I've met so many people, like, huge anime fans. They learn Japanese from playing anime games, like, that were imported directly from Japan and stuff. Those types of people. And some of those people are generally the most cool, down-to-earth, loving people because they keep, in my opinion, they keep their fandom in check. They're like, no, I love this stuff. However, I got wife and kids type thing. Like, I got stuff to take care of and everything. And that's fine, because then that keeps everything in check. And to me, that means you're a holistic person. You got all different types of things to you. You are not just one thing. Like for Disney, for example, some people, they love Disney a lot.
Yeah.
Where they have been to the park 100 times. They dress up in the specific character. They go to the exact same spot and all this kind of stuff. They watch, they know their movies. They know their, Disney lore. They know about their stuff. They're probably going crazy right now because of the shakeup. But at the same time, I'm like, okay, that's cool. I'm that way too, but I'm not to that level. I know I like Disney. I like Disney stuff. I love like Disney movies. I love Disney princess movies. I mean,
there's a lot of good ones.
Oh man. See, now here's the thing. I love a lot of them that a lot of people are like, really? Because I'll say it right now. I love Brave. Brave is one of my favorites.
It's not a hot take. It's like,
yeah, that is kind of a hot take. That's one for me.
Brave is like a room temperature glass of milk to me.
Oh, well, here's the thing. I hear that. I respect it. That is a valid opinion.
Mm-hmm.
That ain't me.
No, and I wouldn't take it away from you if I could, and I have no intention of trying to dissuade you. But like,
oh no, and I know
it would be interesting.
I mean, we know this about each other.
It would be interesting for us to watch it together and then to debate the merits. Like that's where the situation is.
And that's the thing is, if you can't do that, because I think we've grown a lot, because we used to do that on the regular. We would get heated about a lot of weird stuff on both ends. Like Adam would do that, and then I would do that, and thinking back, I'm like, man, it's not just like he was acting like crazy. I was acting crazy too. What was I thinking? Like, what was I talking about? I couldn't even articulate what I was talking about, or everything. It's just because I will admit, this is putting myself out there. I was on that vibe level. The vibe level was on a scale that was not good.
Mm-hmm.
The fandom was not good back then. I was like, if I don't personally like this, it isn't good. And I had that kind of an attitude back then. And I had to definitely curb that. Because I obviously still have that, and that's still a big part of my personality. But at the same time, I can definitely back up. If I truly like something, I can definitely start backing stuff up with, actual criticisms and actual, things about things, Things about things. And I just talked about being articulate, and I have no idea.
Look, there's stuff involved. We can all agree.
Stuff and things.
Here's like another point for like how to be a responsible fan, how to be someone who engages sincerely and doesn't cause it to be poison. First of all, like I think that you really actually did kind of hit the nail on the head, where it's like whatever you want, but be a complete person. Like, I think that's actually like pretty succinct when it comes to it. But here's my other thing. When talking about something that you like, talk about and appreciate the thing that exists and not the thing that you want to exist, or not the thing that like you wish existed. If it's about like that anticipation, the hype cycle, like I get that. You're chasing that dragon of like, oh, it's going to be so good. I'm going to come out of this like feeling great. You're being a fan of something that doesn't exist, of something that you want to exist. When the thing happens, like appreciate the thing that it is. Engage with it on that level. Don't wrap yourself up in what I don't know. See, now I'm second guessing myself, because it's like, are you right to think that Rise of Skywalker sucks because it doesn't live up to, potential or possibility. Like,
better example for you. This is very relevant and better example for you, because while you were saying that is the Rings of Power. That's out right now.
Sure.
I think that is a great example of how people are feeling. I think that's what you're trying to say of, how you should feel.
No, I'm going to stick with what I was saying. Like
what you were saying,
where it's like, I went into that with no expectations. I did not hype myself up for it. I didn't, basically do anything in the lead up. And then when it came out, I evaluated it on its own merits, and I treated it like its own thing, not like what I wanted it to be, and not what I thought it could be.
And you're talking about the Rings of Power or the Rise of Skywalker?
Rings of Power.
Okay, Rings of Power.
And the conclusion that I came to was like, it was okay. It was fine. It wasn't as bad as The Hobbit. Like, I did not like The Hobbit. I thought that
the trilogy, or just the first one?
The trilogy. Like,
the whole... Oh, well, it wasn't even a trilogy, wasn't it? It was like 4 movies or something?
It was 3.
It was 3 movies. Yeah, it was 3 movies.
Yeah. And they made extended editions of each of them, which absolutely boggles the mind.
Here's the thing. And that's a good thing for a good example of how that is I don't want to say a slippery slope, but that was something for me. Because The Hobbit was the only book that I read of the Lord of the Rings thing. So I actually knew that. So I was excited when that came out.
Yeah.
Because I was like, oh, they're making The Hobbit. And then they made 3 of them. And I was like, there ain't that much information in The Hobbit.
No.
What are you guys doing? And then, like, Legolas was in it. And I was like, what are you guys doing? And then I was like, but at the same time, that was an example of me going, oh, man, why? What? And then I was starting to think, I was like, why am I getting mad about this? Seriously. I got what I wanted out of the second movie. And that's just me. Smaug, I was like, that was the exciting part for me. I was like, they built that up like crazy. And I was like, I'm glad that was a thing. Now, I wish they would have finished it, because that was the basic finish. But no, they kept going. But at the same time, I pulled myself back, and I'm pulling myself back right now and saying, really? Are we really that invested in The Hobbit, the trilogy? Did Peter Jackson come to your house and stab you in the gut and said, you deserve this? Did he do that?
Yeah.
Then you shouldn't feel that bad.
Look,
you should be like, that was a thing. I liked some things about it. I disliked many other things about it. It was a thing. I can move on.
Yeah. It's like, I became an animator because of The Lord of the Rings, in a very literal way. There is a direct path between me watching The Lord of the Rings and me choosing this as a career. And if I can...
Oh, this is for you.
Yeah.
This is you.
Yeah. And so if I can look at the Hobbit trilogy and be just like, yeah, hugely disappointing, but also I'm going to evaluate what's there, and it's not meritless. There's like some really good scenes. There's some really good casting. There's some really good performances, while also absolutely not being what I wanted. And now I can just move on. Like, it doesn't have to become part of my identity.
Yeah. And I just look at it because I see a lot of these things for me, I always say, if I just end up disliking something or, what have you, I just say, yeah, that just wasn't worth it for me. Just wasn't worth it. If the hype didn't live up to whatever, if the expectations weren't there, I don't really get like mad about it. That didn't seem worth it to me, for me.
Yeah.
And I was like, and I can it's easier to just be like, step away and be like, oh, okay, that was a thing. And
yeah. I mean, your version of that might be the fairly wretched Percy Jackson movie.
Oof. Or for both of us, the Last Airbender.
I mean, what a doozy.
I saw that in theater too. I saw that in theaters, and You know, it was amazing too. I remember, but that was another theater experience that I will never forget because it was so funny and so disappointing on multiple levels at the same time.
Yeah.
I will one day we'll talk about movie theaters. That is going to be that's going to be an episode coming up because I got some stories to tell about things about. I'm dead serious. It's so funny and so. But yeah, that was an experience too. But at the same level, it's like movie wise, I was like, I just sat back and I was like, this is the thing. This is what we've asked for. This is what we.
This is not what we asked for. Yeah. I disagree.
No. I mean, in the way that is exactly because I don't know. It was self-fulfilling prophecy and yet not because it's not what we wanted, but it's something that was unique, but it's not, but it wasn't good because I felt that.
I think it's really fascinating. And this ties into a future bad movies episode because bad movies are really excellent illustrations.
Teaching.
There are
examples.
So many disciplines that are involved in making a movie that all have to work together basically seamlessly and do work together basically seamlessly in the vast majority of movies, even not very good ones. Like it's just like, oh, the Foley works. Like the mixing is pretty good.
Yeah, like stuff is happening.
Yeah,
stuff is happening.
Rhythm, basically. Pacing, camera choice, mise en scène, like all that stuff. And when you get a truly dog shit movie like your Last Airbender or infamously for us the Aragon movie, like those are actually really incredible teaching tools because the connective tissue falls apart and you get to see the individual pieces and how they don't fit together. And you can learn a lot from that.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that because I used to tell one of my best friends, Doug. We're bringing up Doug again.
Hi, Doug.
His little sister. Yeah, his little sister. And this was back in the day when it just came. Like it's been out for like maybe a year or two or something. And she's like, I don't want to go see that. It looks dumb. I'm like, no, you need to see it. You need to see how this is made because it looks like it was a no-brainer. This was a no-brainer. That's why it was, to me, that's why the biggest reason why it was disappointing is this is a no-brainer. And yet it still failed spectacularly. Why?
Yeah,
you need to watch this.
And the reasons for it are multitudinous and
there's
incredible.
So many reasons. And it had all of it. It had everything. It had the backing. It had the studio. It had the director.
Yeah.
But it's just...
I did not have the director. I think that was their only movie that they've made.
No, it was M. Night Shyamalan.
Oh, we're talking about The Last Airbender. I thought we were talking about Aragon.
Oh, no,
still.
Not Aragon. Not Aragon. Aragon is a different story. But even then, it's a different story because it had the casting. And why did that movie feel lifeless?
It's
like, let me tell you, why did that movie feel lifeless? Yep.
Yeah.
But I don't want to make it about that. I want to make it about why... like the fandoms are allowed to exist in a way that we can sit back and be like, oh, we collectively like all this stuff, but we don't like everything the same because we're people. We're different people. Yeah. We are not the Stepford Wives. we are people. But that's, to me, that is the strongest point of being in a fandom is we're emphasizing the community. The community, the camaraderie. We have so much camaraderie is literally why I'm in some of the stuff because we care enough about the material that we can make fun of ourselves for liking the material. For liking the game. For adamantly 100% ironically liking something. You're allowed to do that, people. You're allowed to do that.
I think that's a great key to responsible fandom is sincerity. Say what you mean, believe the things that you say.
And as long as it's not negatively charged, and I'm not talking negative criticism, I'm talking negative as in putting people down, being that guy or that person, or we don't want to do that. I am adamant about being the opposite of that. And one, that's not my personality anyway. I feel bad whenever I give criticism. And I used to be a teacher too. But like I feel bad about that. I feel bad about, exercising my authority on filmmaking sometimes, whatever that means. Like I used to have arguments, and by arguments I used to not like talking to people about Twilight, looping back to that. When that was really popular, I had some people around me sometimes that loved Twilight. I'm talking loved it.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, oh man, it's not good. But it's not good for me. I had to learn to say it's not good for me because the only one I enjoy is the last one, and only because 90% of that movie is fighting. And I was like, wow, it took you all this time to get to that cool stuff? All right. But I get it. People, I don't think it's a very good love story or anything like that. I think the holes are crazy, and I think the characters all are lame. I just think they're all lame. They're not good. They're not good people. That's the thing. They're not good people. But at the same time, I get it because it's a very cheesy, teeny romance. It is very CW. And I'm like, people love that. It's why Riverdale exists. It's why this kind of stuff exists.
Unironically, I keep looking at Riverdale and being like, someday I'm gonna watch that and just be like, what the fuck is happening?
I have watched a little bit of it, and I'm like, as being a fan of the Archie comics, like the original ones, because I used to actually read them. Like I used to read the Archie comics all the time, and I actually loved them. But so I was like, they made a Riverdale thing about, and then I watched it. I was like, why y'all doing this? Like, why y'all doing this? But then I thought about it, and I was like, I know exactly why they're doing this.
I want to be deeply perplexed while watching the show.
I mean, it's the same reason why they were going to make a live-action Powerpuff Girls
deeply
show,
perplexing.
CW. But they canceled that, luckily. But it was the same reason why I saw, like, behind-the-scenes stuff while they were making that show, the Powerpuff Girls like pilot or whatever, and I was like, this is not what you want. This is not what I would want this to be if it was live action. However, I was like, wait a minute, they're not aiming at me. They're aiming at a different fandom entirely.
Yeah.
They don't even that fandom doesn't even care about like necessarily like the iconography or something like that. They care about the drama. Because that's what it is. It's a fandom about the CW drama. And you know what? That's fine. Because it can work in a way. I watched The Flash. I like it up until a certain point. But yeah.
But it was canceled because no one actually wanted it.
Oh,
so
nobody actually wanted it, so it was.
So I don't know how valid that perspective is.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I just feel that I take that perspective with a lot of stuff, though. Not just those things, but a lot of things. But yeah, so all in all,
the last things I want to talk about being responsible members of a fandom. We talked a lot about like tolerance and like approaching things with a level head and in good faith. Also, the counteract of that, be vocal about gatekeepers. Fuck off. Like, do not welcome them. Don't accept bad faith arguments. If someone is just trying to stir the pot or start some shit or trying to exclude or harm or be shitty to anyone,
and you'll know who they are.
Yeah.
You'll know who they are because those people are always vocal about it.
They're very vocal.
They're very loud. You point them out and you say, no, we're not doing this.
Yeah.
You can get out. You can start your own fandom over there. We ain't going to be violent to you, but you can definitely start your fandom over there by yourself. You'll probably find other people just like you, and then you all hate each other. But no, we're not going to do this here. Here, we're going to have a good time because that's what fandom actually is. Having a good time with like-minded people.
Yeah.
If you're not having a good time, then you're having a bad time, and nobody wants to have a bad time. Despite popular belief, nobody wants to have a bad time talking about the stuff that they love or the stuff that they don't like or whatever. Nobody wants to do that. So instead of being, I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, instead of being mad, why don't you just get glad type thing. Like,
right.
It's kind of like that argument, but at the same time, I'm not going to shy away from that. That is definitely what I'm saying is, like,
I'm saying
this
more
is why,
that, like, the behavior that you choose to tolerate does define you. And if you are a Star Wars fandom and you're, I don't know, I'm picking on Star Wars again. If you're a Star Wars fandom,
it's a big one.
And you're tolerating people getting mad that there's a black person in Star Wars,
first of all,
you like, this is either a bad space or you need to shut that shit down. Like, and I don't want to like put responsibility on individuals, but like recognize that that's a problem. Recognize that shouldn't be. I'm gonna back you up on that. I would put a little bit of responsibility on the individuals because you're a part of this. Mm-hmm. You should care that people are having a good time in your group, in your community. Yeah. You
should care about that. So you should weed out people that are creating a bad time.
Yeah.
Or just even talk to people. Why? What's wrong? What's happening? Oh, this person is harassing me over there. I understand that I like a certain thing, but I'm like, oh, we ain't gonna have that. That's what I would do. I'm like, we're not gonna have that. And I would go have some words with that person. I will back you up. It's, if you care about your community, and I'm not saying police your community because that is just another form of gatekeeping. I'm saying be mindful. We're circling back to being a good person. Be mindful of people's feelings.
Yeah.
Say, this is an inclusive place where we want people to have a good time with the stuff that they like.
Yeah.
Especially online. It's easy to be that person online. That's where, in my opinion, that's where it's needed a lot more. Because it's harder to talk shit in face-to-face with somebody than online.
Yeah.
Like I said, this is why, like, I will forever crack up when I was listening to some of these guys on YouTube. And they're a part of the FGC fighting game community.
Yeah.
And they're very, very wide. It's starting to grow again because there are actually good fighting games out there that are coming out. But these are some old heads. Like, they're like our age or a little bit older. Mm-hmm. And they're like, yeah, we remember back in, the arcade days where you had to pay money to do that. People didn't talk shit that much back then. Why? Because you talked enough shit and somebody was going to either punch you or stab you. And they're like, oh man, like, guy just whipped out a knife and stabbed that guy in the gut and then he just ran away and he was crying and stuff. It's like, oh, that shit was crazy.
It's because he kept doing shoryukens over and over and over and he wouldn't stop.
Yeah, just constant DPing. No, we're not going to do that.
He just kept doing the down crouch kick forever.
Yeah. Oh, that was, you're speaking my language.
I'll fucking kill you.
Oh, okay, podcast over. That's enough. Okay, that was good. That was funny.
Good stuff. So I hope that we did an adequate job of touching on this.
Yeah, that it's definitely a thing, guys. But we can make this community of media better.
Yeah,
guys, we can make it better.
And so much of this stuff is interconnected, and so much of it just boils down to, like, be a decent person, care about other people, and have kindness and empathy.
Care about other people as much or more, preferably, as you care about the fandom that you're in.
Yeah.
The media that you are a fandom
All
of.
Communities are just people. And you need to treat them like people. Like,
treat them like
just
people.
Be decent.
Even if you disagree, I know that's hard. I know that's hard. But I disagree with him all the time. I disagree with Adam all the time.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But, I still love him. He's crazy sometimes, but I still love him.
This has been Halftone Takes. We're going to round out this with just our usual contact information. I have been Adam Bucherri. I'm an animator and game designer. Blah, blah. Gonna drop a marker there. That's like the only marker of the episode, which is great. I've been Adam Bucherri. I'm an animator and game designer. You cannot follow me on Twitter, which I'm like totally cool with. But you can find my tabletop games at Boo Cherry, that's Boo like ghost, cherry like fruit, .itch.io.
Okay. And I have been Cory Revis. I am an illustrator and comic creator. You can find me not on Twitter either, because I'm not really doing that thing anymore. By the way, I only posted like 2 things, and they were like 4-letter, 4-word sentences, so it doesn't even matter. But you can find me on Instagram at EARTHUR_1. That's Earther1. I am on Instagram, and possibly I might start a Twitch or YouTube soon. Ooh. So I might stream. I might. Exciting. I very well might do it. I might do it.
Don't threaten me with a good time.
I might. Yeah.
If you have any questions or comments or suggestions for an episode topic, you can send us an email at halftonetakes@gmail.com. And if you've enjoyed listening, please give us a rating or review on iTunes, Podcast Addict, or wherever else podcasts are rated.
Yep. Give us a thumbs up or whatever they say you should do. So, do the do.
Do the do.
Do the do. So anyway, that was a good talk. Yeah. That was a good chat. So, join us next time for the next one. I have no idea what we're talking about, but it should be a good one. So,
it's going to be our best episode ever. Guaranteed.
And then it's all downhill from there.
If it's not the best episode ever, then you can fucking shoot me.
I was about to say, then you can fucking shoot him.
Get yourself really emotionally wrapped up in the success of the next episode.
I'll see you later, man.
Okay, gotta go.
I gotta get going. Yes, I love you, buddy.
Bye-bye.
Okay, I love you. Bye-bye.